So again, is it as good as your top PowerPoint presentation? Probably not. You probably have designers and stuff like that. But we'll use some of the other tools each of these presentations so you can kind of get a picture of what the different design presentation tools are. All right, so first, we're going to kick it off with these browsers. I talked about Comet Browser, but there was a big announcement, and I posted in the WhatsApp group. If you're not on the WhatsApp group, you can go to hiveresearch.com, find AI Practicum. The WhatsApp group link is right there. And this is called ChatGPT Atlas. It's a new browser that was created by ChatGPT. As you can see, it'll open up just like a regular browser, and you can prompt. This is very similar to Gemini's Chrome extension as well. So if you're in the Google ecosystem and you have Chrome and you have a corporate account or a personal account, you can install Gemini and use the Chrome integration. Now, both ChatGPT Atlas and Gemini browser, basically the same. It'll analyze what's on the browser, it'll analyze the information that's there, and it'll give you a summary. It, however, does not directly interact with the information on the browser that you have. So it's nice for sharing information, querying information. So you've got a large article that you're reading, it'll summarize it really quickly. They've actually integrated Gemini now into YouTube. I don't know if I've got the integration set up on my YouTube account. So you've got Diary of a CEO podcast, and you want to go through this podcast. I use, see, there it is. It says ask. You can just click ask here. Tell me what a summary of this video is about. And it'll give you the summary. It'll basically look at the transcript of the video and it'll give you a breakdown of it. Now, there are pros and cons. I showed you guys what I use, which is Recall. So if you check out getrecall.ai, I have a promo code if you still want it, that was given by the CEO of the company. I had a great meeting with her. But YouTube has it integrated just for that. On Get Recall, you can put all the information into Get Recall. So YouTube videos, PDFs, other links, information, and it'll summarize it. And you can actually interact with that content. It's very similar to Notebook LM by Google, which is free. Notebook LM is very similar. You can upload sources, YouTube video, Google Docs, slides. Now they've extended where it's got like 300 different sources. Before it was limited to like 30. So there's a lot of information. I use Get Recall on a daily basis. The reason why is because it allows you to interact with all the information you've uploaded. Versus Notebook LM, think about it more as you've got a class or you've got a specific topic. You could put all the information for that topic and you could interact with just that topic or that notebook, right? So you have to have multiple notebooks and the information goes into each notebook and you can interact with each of those notebooks. Some cool things that Notebook LM has that the other ones don't is you can have a podcast style study. So say for instance, you've got this long, boring document that you have to read. It'll actually create it like a live podcast using 11 Labs data and infrastructure. So you can actually hear two people interacting. You can actually click into the podcast and you can actually interact with it. I'll be honest, I don't use it ever. I was in a Stanford program with some of you guys who are online. Great if you're in a specific training program, you've got a lot of information, you're in the learning process. Students, if you guys have kids, this is a great tool that I've seen that a lot of students have used. I see it more from the collegiate level, more than primary and secondary school levels. It's very structured to think kind of like you are thinking through a more professional class. So if you need more dynamic instruction, it's probably not as good of a solution. All right, so that is ChatGPT Atlas. So I'm going to put a thumbs down on ChatGPT Atlas, and I'm going to do a thumbs down on Gemini in Chrome, mainly because Comet browser does everything they all do. It has the quality of research because it's powered by Perplexity. It's got any model that you want to use, so Sonnet or ChatGPT or different models that it can interact with. And again, it'll interact with the entire browser. So as of right now, I would not recommend anything other than Comet Browser. And at this point, I'm using Comet Browser on a daily basis. All right, so the next thing that we're going to cover is automated workflows. But before we get started, does anybody have any questions? I'll look at the chat as well. So if you have any questions, now's a great pause. Jason, did you unmute? Do you have a question?
Hey, JP. Yeah, thanks for doing this always, and I appreciate you just directing us and cutting through all the noise. Are there specific things you will not log into Comet Browser to do? Or like, would you do your Wall Street Journal and have it access that to summarize the article since you have a paid subscription? Or would you not log into certain things into Comet because it is so powerful?
Yeah. Great question. Funny enough, we're going to actually go through a news use case right after. The answer is, it's not about would you let it use it or not use it. The key is, are you attending to it or not? So in many cases, say for instance, and we're going to go through Microsoft Copilot. And I'm going to show you that, hey, even whenever I started using the tool, I didn't know how to use it. So I used Comet Browser Assistant to actually do all the steps. It goes a little slow. So as a human, we're kind of a little lazy. So what do? We're like, okay, I'm going to go away and come back. The problem with that is I'm an admin on Azure for our corporate account. I cannot allow it to go do random stuff and not monitor exactly what it's going to do. That being said, PI, we have tens of millions of Americans' data. That's all segregated from the accounts that I have access to. However, God forbid you have your sysadmin really lazy and say, hey, I need these actions to be done. It's going to do those actions. If you want to delete users, add users, I've done that for using Notion. I wanted to add some people, shift them from a member to a guest mode. And it was like 20 people. I was like, I don't want to do this. It's going to take forever. It was pretty low stakes. Nothing was going to, break if I did that. So I let it run, made sure it did the first one correctly. So I try to sequence it. Do one step at a time so I can watch what it's doing. However, you're going to get frustrated because it's going to take a while because it's going to figure it out. Think of it as like this. This is a brand new assistant that you have. They don't know how to do anything. They're going to go figure it out. They're going to look at the help files. They're going to try all the buttons. The problem is if it's going to try all the buttons and you're in a high risk environment, very, very dangerous because it will literally click every button and it will try a bunch of things if it can't figure it out quickly. So yes, there are plenty of use cases to never use the Comet Browser control. The other thing, my cybersecurity head sent me a note, or somebody actually in the company sent a note immediately when I was teaching class on Comet Browser, and they said, there are certain websites, just like, God forbid, your kids or an intern clicks that wrong website and banner ad and it downloads spam and malware. There is now agentic like spyware and viruses where it looks like a regular image. It'll scan the image. The image has instructions that you as a human can't see. It takes control over the browser and starts doing malicious things. That being said, 99 out of 100 times, it's not going to be an issue. But on those very specific use cases, obviously don't let it go wander the internet and do random stuff. You kind of want to monitor it if it's going to be in a more potentially risky environment. But for the news, I'm going to show a use case here shortly where it is exactly how I consume all my news now. And yes, I know that I like reading the email from Wall Street Journal and Financial Times and Bloomberg and the 10,000 different articles and emails that come inbound. Those days are almost gone. Not done, but almost gone. And it's curated information for exactly what I want. And we'll go through that use case. Great question, Jason. Anybody else have any other questions? Rithika, go ahead.
Yes, a quick note. So on Comet Browser, you actually have an ad-free experience. They have a really, really solid ad-free ad blocker built into the browser. So if you currently pay for YouTube Premium, like I used to, and you happen to be using Comet, you'll notice that YouTube won't present with any ads. You'll be seeing a much, much limited advertising experience on the entire browser. In addition to that, they're rolling out a bunch of new partnerships. So the first one that I end up using quite a bit, I know someone just alluded to security. If you're familiar with 1Password or any of these password, two-factor authentication, security tools, it's built into Perplexity. So if you were using 1Password on any other browser, you'd end up having to pay for a subscription. But if you're on Perplexity, their native password protection protocol is actually just 1Password.
That being said, if you put all your passwords in 1Password and you let Comet run, it's going to use these tools again to log in, log out, and do things that you may or may not want to do. So just always have security, privacy in mental framework. The thing is, and I talked to the entire company earlier last week. We had Frank Blake, the former CEO of Home Depot, who's one of our investors, come and speak to the group. And then I was talking about AI and the tools that we all use. There's two sides to that coin. You want your team members to use all the latest, greatest tools, yes, but. And so what we try to do in the company is we allow pretty much anybody to use whatever tool they want through the process of our cybersecurity and IT infrastructure team. And what that allows us to do is like try to find the enterprise components of it. If you use regular ChatGPT and OpenAI, even though they're saying that they're not going to train on your data, there's some new news that the API, which most people aren't using the API here, but if you use third-party applications that are using the API of OpenAI to do all this vibe coding and all this prompting and all these cool new things, a lot of that data is actually being used to train the latest models from OpenAI. So generally speaking, I do not like OpenAI from a security standpoint for application development. We only use Sonnet 4.5 and Opus 4.1 combined with Cursor. If you don't know anything about what I just said, part of that information is on hiveresearch.com, so you can actually find some information about it. But the point is, we are using these tools to build software. A lot of our software, a lot of our analysts are using these tools to augment their expertise and expedite the process. The downside is if it's stealing PII or any type of confidential information, or HIPAA for those of you in healthcare, that's where there's a security risk from that standpoint. So I always have a sense of paranoia. At the same time, I do want the team members to constantly try and play with these tools. So we try to create a sandbox environment, host a lot of the models on an internal basis at the company.